Shut up and sit down.
That's actually perfect. Do you hear me pretty good?
Yeah, I hear you good.
Excellent. And I just started recording, so that's all up and running. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on the podcast here. A lot of my listeners, I'm in Boynton Beach, Florida. A lot of my listeners are 80% of them are local, and a lot of people had reached out to me, and they had mentioned they wanted to hear from you. So I said, okay, let me do my best. And
yeah, my mother lives in Boynton. My mother's in Boynton, Coral Lakes, over by Flavor Pick.
Yes, yeah, I know exactly. That's probably about 5 minutes from me. I'm by the Renaissance Commons on Congress.
Yeah, she loves it. She's like, and it's like camp for senior citizens. Those places.
It really is. They got everything here for the older people. All the amenities.
Yep.
Yep. So it's again very nice to have you. Thanks for being a part of it.
You got Sonny. My dog Sonny in the background.
What kind of dog is that?
That's Belgian Malinois. Sonny, hey, get over here. Get up there. Up.
Let's see him. Nice looking dog. Oh wow, yeah, look at him. Beautiful.
Yeah, he's just keeping an eye out.
That's right. So are you in an RV?
Yeah, I'm in my RV right now. I'm up in Humboldt. They call it the Green. I'm up in the Green Triangle up in California.
Okay.
And we're just taking our time. My wife is from Redding, California. We're not too far from there. We're headed up the coast. We went up. There's a highway that runs along the Pacific coast. So we hit that, and we're just traveling. Taking it day by day.
Absolutely. Good for you. I mean, I'm in Boynton Beach. I lived in Boca. I lived in Coral Springs. I used to pass Stoneman Douglas every day on my way to work, on my way home. I have friends of mine that had kids that went to Stoneman Douglas. They were there that day. It's just something that, I know it rocked the entire country when it happened, but, being here close to home, that kind of thing happening in a place like Parkland, Florida, which is, I mean, an extremely safe community. It just makes you think like it could happen anywhere, something like this.
Yeah, well, it's something I got to live with forever.
Yeah.
And, nothing's really changed that much in Broward when it comes to the public schools.
Mm-hmm.
There's still what I try and tell parents is, I thought, even now, Parkland's a great community. Mm-hmm. It's safe, the community. But the schools, it's a different story because you got different people running the school districts.
Right.
And they're still, they still participate in those programs of not holding kids accountable. So there's still a sociopath in all the schools in Broward. There's still kids like the one that killed my daughter going to school in Broward. And now Broward just said they're not reporting. There was a law that they had to start reporting the kids that are committing these crimes to the Department of Juvenile Justice. And this article just came out that Broward said they're not going to participate in it because they don't want to tell they don't want to give that information to the police because, to the Broward school districts, the police are the bad ones. So that they're not going to participate. So every parent or anyone who's listening out there, they have to know better by now of where you send your kid to school. Okay. Right. I didn't know. But everyone now in the country should know what's going on in these public schools and schools that participate in these programs of not holding kids accountable.
Absolutely. And the other big thing too, and it's going around the news, and I've been reading about it. I see it on the news. I've seen you speak a few times about it as well. But teachers carrying guns, it's gotten praise from people. There's a lot of critics out there as well. My question to you is, I mean, it sounds like the critics don't really know exactly what the plan in place is. Can you kind of just brief us on exactly what the plan is for that?
The governor, Rick Scott, a good friend of mine, he put together that MSD commission to look into all the failures that happened at the school.
Right.
So after looking at all the tapes, they had access and privy to the videos. The commissioners that were, that were on that committee. After looking at the videos, there was 14 commissioners, okay? They watched 13 of them watched what went on in that school. And 13 of them voted for the teachers, if they wanted to be able to be armed. Okay. And the one that voted against it is a friend of mine. He didn't watch the videos. He didn't watch what went on in the school. So 13 of them voted in favor of it. And there's Democrats on that commission too. And they voted in favor of it's voluntary. That's what a lot of critics don't get. It's the teachers that don't want to do it, they don't have to do it. Don't do it. We don't want you to do it. You're never going to pass the class anyway. It's 150 hours. It's intense. Okay. It's very hard training. You know, it's not like the media will want you to make it out to believe that you could go for the weekend and take a class, and then Monday you'll be able to bring a gun into school. But it doesn't work that way.
Right.
It's 150 hours worth of training. They're held to higher standards and accuracy than regular deputies. They teach. They have to go through psychologicals testing, just like you would to become a police officer.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's the same testing. They test them. So if there's any type of mental disorders or any type of psychological issues, they're not going to pass right there. And then even if they pass that, 50% of the people taking this guardian class to be able to carry at the schools are failing because it's intense. Okay. So for all the critics out there or the teachers that say we don't want you, okay, we don't want those teachers, but maybe 1 or 2 out of 50 would want to go through it and pass. So, and the critics, they didn't have, my daughter was on the 3rd floor with no one there to save her. Okay. There was teachers that went in, those 2 hero coaches went in, they got killed. And then there was other teachers, you know, that got killed. You know, if there would have been 1 teacher trained in that school, in that building, it would have been a different turnout that day.
Absolutely.
So the naysayers, I say, send your kid to a school where the gates are open and there's no one is trained to carry a firearm. You know, that's what I tell them. Me, I would want my kid to go to a school where everyone's trained, okay, in being able to defend themselves and the kids.
Absolutely.
You know, because we live in a sick society, man. You know, we can't fix society, but take the politics out of it. You're responsible for your kid. Okay. Right. Do you want to stick to your political agendas, or do you want your kids safe in school? Me, I would want my kid. What is the best thing? Where am I going to send my kid? And I want to know that he's safe. I don't care about political agendas. So I want my kid in a school where the gates are locked. Okay. I want my kid in a school where they know the code red protocols and where you have more than 1 SRO in the school, and teachers, if they want to go and participate in this program, are eligible to go through it. And another big thing is I wouldn't want my kid going to a school where they participate in those diversionary programs. That means where they don't hold kids accountable for committing crimes in school. They just, you know, it's like a slap on the wrist. We put in a program and they don't hold them accountable. So they never learn their lesson or they never meet the judicial system. Right. So that gives these kids more rights, and these kids are acting out in your kids' schools. Right. So you're putting your kid in an unsafe environment. That's the way you have to look at schools today.
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more. I mean, you know, if a kid acts out as an adult or does just a heinous crime and there's no accountability, that's going to give these other kids that have these ideas in their head to do the same exact thing, knowing they're not going to get, you know, like you said, a slap on the wrist.
You fight. When I went to school, you couldn't fight really in the school. You wouldn't do it. You know what I mean? You'd go off campus somewhere. Right. Now I posted a video that they're hitting the teachers. There's no respect in the schools. You know, they're having fights, lots of fights in the schools. They're robbing. They're selling weed in the schools. They're vaping in the schools. They're robbing cell phones. You know, there's no accountability. And the problem with a lot of liberals, they don't get it. They think they're doing the right thing by these kids. But if you get these kids when they're juveniles and you teach them right from wrong, it sets them up to be successful adults. You know what I mean? When they turn 18, they learn their lesson. Hey, I don't want to go through the judicial system again. I learned my lesson. And now, you know, most of them, not all of them, but a lot of them are going to learn their lessons. So when you don't hold these juveniles accountable when they're minors, you set them up for failures when they turn 18. They're adults. Now they commit a felony, and there's no diversion program when you're an adult So now you got a felony on your background forever.
Right.
But they don't get it. So it's up to parents out there to get it and know what environment they're putting their kids in when they send them to the schools.
Absolutely.
Do what you got to do. I tell parents, do what you have to do. If you got to homeschool, you got to homeschool. If you got to move out of your community for your kid, then you move.
Right.
If you could afford private, you go to private. Charter school, there's options. Okay, nothing is worse than what I have to live with, not having my daughter. Okay, so, and it happens, you know, after it happened to me, you know, then it happened in Santa Fe. Then it happened, you know, just recently, a kid got killed in Colorado. A kid got killed in Charlotte. You know, it's going to happen. And don't think that it can't happen to you, because I didn't think it could happen to me. And those 10 families in Texas didn't think it could happen. And the one now in Colorado. So it's happening. So you owe it as a parent to put your kid into a safe environment and not leave it up to the school district, thinking that your kid's safe when you send them to school.
Right. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And you've met with President Trump. What was that like, and how supportive has he been through this entire process?
Well, he did. He put a federal school commission together, and they put together these recommendations for schools to look at and really put them into place. You know, so the schools are safer. And he's got over 100 recommendations. The problem is, even with the government, okay, he could do whatever. He could make all these recommendations and laws, right? Then even the same thing, I've seen it now at a state level in Florida, the governor, he could put into laws. But when it gets to your local community, the school board could override all of that. They don't have to participate in anything the president says, anything the governor says. They do what they want, like in Broward, you know. At ground zero, if a teacher wanted to go and participate in that Guardian program where my daughter was murdered and defend himself and children at the school, they wouldn't allow it where my daughter got murdered. So it's local. It's local governing, like at a level. It's like their own Vatican, the school board. They do what they want. So it's up to parents to look at that, okay? Because I tried to change it. You can't fix some of these things at where you live in your community, but you could change where you send your kid to school.
Right.
Okay, and that's what parents need to do instead of looking at the big picture. What's the president going to do for me? Well, he can't do shit at a local level. He can't do anything for you. Governor DeSantis, he did what he could do in Broward. He opened up a grand jury investigation into the school board. But the school board, there's 9 of them there. They vote and do anything what the superintendent does. And they don't have to listen to anybody but what they do in Broward. And it's the same at any other school board throughout the country. So it's up to parents. You know what I mean? You got options. You want to send your kid to a school run by people like Runcie, then you send them. You take your kids' lives into their hands when you send them there. Or you're putting them into an unsafe environment where there's kids. I'm not saying we don't want to take care of these kids that are troubled, but you're putting your kids in an environment with these kids that they're just not controllable, and because there's no accountability.
Right.
So it's up to parents now really to look at it at a local level. And that's my message to most parents now when they message me.
When I pass this this podcast episode, this interview along to our community down here, you know, that's going to be one of the focal points that I want people to listen to, and knowing that the parents have more control maybe than they think. Maybe, you know, some people aren't educated enough and they need to learn this. So this will be a good learning tool for, you know, the people down here and across the country as well. So I thank you for that advice.
Yeah, no, it means a lot to me to tell parents, because I didn't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I didn't know I put my daughter into that school with a sociopath. They allowed a sociopath, outright sociopath, in the school with my daughter, dreaming of blood, swastikas on his arms, the N-word on his backpack, killing animals on the street. The police were to his house 40 times, you know, killing, shooting chickens. You know, a hatchet was missing one summer out of this kid's garage. And the mental health, Henderson Health, they knew of all of this. What do? They mainstream him into the school with my daughter. Okay. And I didn't know this, you know what I'm saying? But now parents need to know. They know now. You know what I mean? From
Yeah.
all the advocacy that's been out there and how I preach it, parents can't just send their kids to school like I did. And I didn't get to get my daughter home, that day. She was murdered at the school. But parents, there's options. And that's what I'm out there trying to preach it to these parents. Yeah. Don't think that the school is going to take care of your kid when you send them there.
Right. Anything you could say to parents listening that have dealt with this? I can't imagine what you've gone through, but you seem like a really strong man, and you're doing some really great things out there to, obviously help the community, help safety in schools. But I know there's a lot of parents out there that have gone through something similar like this. What's your advice to them? Anything you could tell them?
You just got to live in misery, man. That's how I do it. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? I have no choice. I got 2 sons.
Yeah.
I got to keep living, but my life was taken from me when they killed my daughter. They took my life's gone too. Everything. It's the worst thing imaginable to bury a child. And my life, I don't know, it's a year and a half, and I don't feel any better. Then time doesn't heal when you lose a child, and there's nothing really I could tell another family that lost a child that's gonna enlighten them. You just got to live, man. You know what I mean? That's it. And like me, I put myself into just trying to tell parents not to just send your kid to the school thinking that it's a safe environment for their children.
Right. Thank you for answering that. I know that's not easy, but you did. You started the class. That's the school safety. Could you tell my listeners a little bit about that, the 8-point plan?
Well, right now I'm working on a really cool project, and if anyone's listening, I want them to follow me on my Twitter, Andrew Pollack FL. Maybe you could put it up on when you do your podcast, Andrew
Absolutely.
Pollack FL. And what we're doing now is we've been training canines for active shooter to work at the schools. So it's really we have a dog in New Jersey, and these dogs are trained specifically for active shooting.
Wow.
So, and gun detection. So they could search a school. If there's a gun in a bag or in a locker, it'll smell it and it'll respond and tell the handler there's a weapon. Wow. It also is trained to go right towards the gunfire. So if there's gunfire in a building, the handler will see where it is, and he could let the dog go, and it's going to go right towards the shooter.
Wow.
So we've been working on that project. We're going to be donating a dog to a school in the country soon. Hopefully, maybe in Broward, we'll be able to get a school, or in Colorado where the shooting just took place. Wow. So these dogs are highly trained, and they won't cower like what happened in Broward, where they all hid behind their cars or the buildings or the walls, or in a closet. Yeah. So these dogs, you'll let them loose, and people fear dogs more than they fear guns. Right. And anyone could get behind it. It's bipartisan. There's nothing to do with guns. All we want to do is make the kids safer at the schools. And you know what? It's a very good, big deterrent. If someone's going to go into school, they're going to know that firm missile is going to come and tear them up if they come in there with a weapon. Yeah. And we already have it in a school in New Jersey, and we hope to, with my Americans for Class, get dogs in schools throughout the country. So that's what I'll be raising money on my Twitter. We'll GoFundMe, and we're going to donate one of these dogs. So I'm looking forward to that project.
Excellent. I'll email you when I'm all done getting the editing and everything done. I'll email it to you, and then just give me all that information, because I would love to share that on my podcast.
Text me's the best. You got my cell number?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you get me on my text.
Okay.
And I'll send you. We're putting the project together, and it's not a big ask. It's about $30,000 for the dog, because we have to fly trainers around the country. It includes the trainers going to where the school is. Okay. To help with the training, like 4 times for the year. Great. So we're going to raise about $30,000, and we're going to donate a dog. It could be to a temple, a church, a little private school, even and you'll put it on your podcast when I'm ready. You text me, keep in touch. I'll let you know when we're ready.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything that comes up, please let me know. I'll be happy to share it. I do a show every week, so I'll be happy to talk about
Sure.
it on the show and bring it up and just
Yeah,
keep
no
spreading the
problem.
word.
Just text me. Keep in touch on the text. Okay,
I
buddy?
absolutely
All right,
will.
Joe.
Thank you again for taking the time to be on the podcast. My
You got
condolences
it.
to you and your family, and God bless you, my friend.
Thanks, man. Let me know how it goes.
I
All
will.
right, buddy. Thanks, man.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye.